The one thing exercise can really help you move from your big goals into figuring out what those step goals are that can help you to move towards the big goal. Remember, the big goal is 3 years out, but we need the 1 year step goals underneath the big goal to allow us to know what is the bucket of work that the team is going to work on this year in order to move towards that big goal 3 years out. One of the things that we can do to help us to sort of break down the big goal into those step goals is to use the one thing exercise. It allows us to think into different categories about the goal. What are some things that we need to solve if we're going to increase employee retention by 20%? What are some things we need to accelerate? Those things that we want to be bigger, to be faster, to be more of. What are those things? What are some things that we need to stop doing to allow us to increase employee retention by 20%? And what are some things we need to learn more about? Let's take the example, and I've preloaded some things on here for you. So, for instance, in the solve category, we might think about how do we incentivize retention when salary increases are off the table? That's not something that we can do. How do we solve that? One of the things that we might want to accelerate is this job shadowing thing that we've got going on. People are all fired up about it. We're seeing lots of engagement on that. Let's accelerate that. In the stop category, we need to stop assuming that the old world incentives are still enticing for today's employees. And in the learn more category, we need to learn from other organizations who are already nailing employee engagement and employee retention. There's lots of information out there. We need to learn some of that. Now you can see we've got lots of ideas about what we could do, but we can't do it all. But some of these ideas are starting to sound a little bit like each other. So let's do some categorization to see what's actually on our board. When we do that, we see that there's some clustering of things. The green stickies all go together. Even though they're in different categories, they kind of go together. The pink stickies go together. So we take those categorizations and we push up to the highest level and we say, if we had to give all the green stickies a title or a phrase, what would it be? And then we see that what we have is the starting of some step goals that we might go after, those buckets of activity that we might go after this year in order to get to increasing employee retention by 20%. Here, the examples are programs under construction. Let's just accelerate those. New incentives that matter most to the staff. That's going to be a bit more tricky because we're going to figure out what that is. Then we've got to develop them. So that step goal is going to have a little bit more to it. And then catching up with the rest of industry. We know that there's good metrics out there that tell us what it takes to have a good retention number. And we need to figure out what that is and then up that in our organization to be able to hit our goal. Try the one thing exercise with your big goals and reach out if you have any questions.